Hey folks, Quill18 here, and welcome to another episode of, I guess, Co-op Civ 5 with Marbozir. Did I even say your name even remotely close to right?
I think so.
All
Hey
right,
everyone.
So we're doing this co-op thing where we're analyzing the game and talk about high-level strategy, but one of the things we didn't mention is how we set up the game here with the teams.
Yeah,
or how you set up the game.
Yep, we are both teamed up and AIs are in teams of two. The main effect of that is shared science. Your science output basically adds up. So if we both research the same technology, it will go twice as fast. But we can also research two different technologies at the same time.
Yeah, that's actually something we didn't coordinate at all in the first place, in the first part, and we should have worked that out. What are you researching right now?
Bronze working to reveal iron on a map.
Okay, I'll help you finish that, but then I will have to get masonry afterwards. Definitely the reveals are always nice to do, even if you're not planning on, you know, I don't know, necessarily using it instantly. It's just nice to plan your expansion, and every now and again, turns out you get a bonus production somewhere.
So one more thing that I would like to add real quick is something that a lot of people don't know from my experience, is exploration. One of the points of exploring the map early is not just to find ruins, but also to make contact with as many AIs as possible, and not just to have sharing partners, but also to speed up your research. Because one of the effects of meeting other AIs is that if the other AIs you met research the technology that you are researching, the cost will be lower. And on Deity, since AIs pretty much start ahead of you by design, it's really important to meet them to speed up your research.
Alright, so I have completed my shrine here, and I'm trying to think of what the next build would be. Now, if I did have wheat or anything like that, it would be instantaneous granary for certain. But here, I don't have wheat, bananas, or deer, so I'm not sure that the +2 food by itself is worth doing, but then what do I do? Maybe put out an archer, just slow build it at this point? A caravan to a city-state? Because I do have some nearby. I think I'd be tempted to put out a caravan, actually. Or would you prioritize the growth?
I don't see any barbarian camps near you, so as long as your workers aren't threatened, I suppose you don't have to get that archer yet.
Now, in a lot of situations, if you were being threatened by an aggressive neighbor or barbarian encampments, you'd be tempted to get an archer.
Yeah, I would definitely get an archer. In fact, I have a barbarian camp very close to my city right now and a hand axe, so I look into getting an archer soon. For sure.
I'm going to squeeze out a caravan. If need be, I can buy an archer, because I do have 200 gold.
But the thing about early caravans that you should usually consider is that since there are a lot of barbarian camps around the map, it's not that easy to get a safe trade route. In this situation, you have a very safe trade route to Wellington. So a caravan here is actually a pretty good idea.
Yeah, I'm going to have a rocking economy early on.
I'm usually very careful with caravans early on for that reason. It's pretty easy to lose them to barbarians. But if there's a safe trade route, like in your situation, it's a pretty good idea actually.
Now, what are the rules for where barbarian encampments can spawn? Because I can't recall exactly. I knew all the rules by heart for Civ 4, and a lot of my brain is still Civ 4, because they can spawn remarkably close to your other units and cities, it seems sometimes.
Yeah, I don't think they can spawn anywhere in Fog of War. I actually don't remember the exact rules, to be honest. So I can't tell you for sure.
I think
they need to be 2 tiles away from the edge of the Fog of War, but I'm not 100% sure about that.
Okay.
So don't quote me on that. But they can spawn annoyingly close to your cities.
Yeah, there's always a possibility that I get one in the northeast, but I think I'll be okay. Now, what cities or what tiles do you lock early on in the game? I set, of course, my city to production focus, but then I go and usually put anything that's like high food. I'm trying to get early growth.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I do. Unless I need a lot of production for something really, really specific that I need to get out ASAP. But I usually prioritize growth as much as possible because it's so important to get as much population as possible.
So okay, I can piece out.
So I guess at this point we should go straight for philosophy.
Okay, well I want to get masonry. I'm going to finish that just because I have so many tiles to improve for it.
Alright, so we'll finish masonry, then probably get writing so we can get started on libraries. Do you need calendar? Nope.
I have
well,
cotton.
yeah, for cotton.
It's not part, but we need calendar for philosophy.
Yeah, but
So-
I was going to get writing first.
Yeah, I agree. Writing, calendar, philosophy. Sounds good to me.
So, how many ruins did you find?
I may have only been one actually.
You can often get such a nice boost in the game from the ruins. I had some amazing games with a lot of early ruins that gave me such a nice start. I know some
I'm a
people
little
that
boxed
play.
in, and I went the wrong way. I went to east towards the coast.
I actually know quite a few people that play with ruins disabled. Because you also have to remember that it's not just you getting the ruins, but also the AI.
Yeah, what it does, it reduces luck, but it also slows down the game. You know, because you can generally expect to get, you know, maybe 50 to 100 gold, if nothing else, and that makes a pretty big difference early on.
Yeah, it definitely does. And you can often get an early Pantheon, a religion through ruins, so it's very common to get faith from it.
Or the culture is so nice,
Yeah.
because it's an instant social policy. And that means getting your +3 culture per turn much, much sooner, which means, you know, just everything snowballs like crazy.
But on the other hand, if the AI gets technologies from ruins, on top of the free technologies they already get, it can give them a really big boost early on. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword, from my experience. But I never actually played with ruins totally disabled, I just know some people who do play with ruins disabled on DT.
So, I've got a quest to destroy a barbarian encampment. There's the Great Library. Turn 32. That is very fast.
Yeah, that's one of the wonders that's borderline impossible to build on DT. You could maybe manage it as Egypt, with aristocracy and marble, but even then it would be pretty damn hard.
Now, who is... Okay, so Byzantium and Pakakudi? I think that's how you say his name. Or Pachakudi?
Pachakuti, I think, but I'm not exactly an expert on proper pronunciation.
Listen, we're going to be a really bad combination for this, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so we both of their allies, we were neighbors to both of them. Oh, no, he's far away from you, never mind. You've got no one near you. You've got such a beautiful start.
Yeah, I got a pretty
Other
good
than
start.
Barbarians, you've got, like, infinity room to expand.
But one thing about this game is it has Korea. And Korea on DT is one of the worst offenders when it comes to runaway science AIs.
Oh, yeah.
I
guess it
had
would.
games where Korea was multiple techs ahead of pretty much everyone else.
So I'm going to pick up legalism now.
I got my first settler.
Really?
Yep. My city got to pop 4 pretty early due to the 2 tiles with wheat. But that was quite nice.
Mine just got to pop 4. I'm going to finish my caravan since it's only 3 turns away. And then I'm going to switch over to building my settler.
I did, however, skip the shrine, which I usually don't. But that's mostly because my city was already at pop 4 when I finished that worker. So I just skipped that shrine. So now I should get an archer. I might actually buy that archer for gold. The archer is only 200 gold, which is really, really cheap, which is why I often just buy one.
Yeah, I should probably do that now too, because I could clear out a barbarian encampment with my warrior.
But this is
if I had
actually
an
a bit
archer.
of a tough decision, because I have to send my settler without an escort, which I don't really like to do. It can be so infuriating if barbarians steal your settler.
Now, looking at my land, where would you settle? I'm tempted to go southeast to the Dyes, but there's no river there. There are mountains, which is something. Or then the alternative would be northeast to maybe the little bit between the 2 fish and the stone.
You could settle
But
a
that would just
city.
give me cotton, which I already have.
You could settle a city on the tile between the sheep and fish, because then you would have dyes in range. You would also have 2 tiles with fish, and you would have an observatory. That would be a decent location. It wouldn't have that much food, but it would have 2 fish tiles.
Yeah, that'd be good. And it does get 1 luxury, which is, early on, that's my criteria, generally speaking.
Yeah, I usually try to settle cities that bring extra happiness, basically. That's my #1 criteria most of the time. It's so important to not drop into negative happiness, at any point, that's usually my #1 priority on Deity. Not drop into negative happiness for any reason, if possible.
Yeah, I'm bad about that. That's one of the reasons my cities don't grow well enough. I've met the Huns to the south of me, which is never good, but they do have a fair distance to travel to reach me.
So I have 2 Barbarian units right next to my capital, and I didn't buy my archer yet.
Oh, wow. The Huns are definitely moving out to something. They've got a great general, they're horse archers, battering rams. Ooh.
Where are the Huns?
Oh my
yeah,
God,
I
there's
see
even
them.
more of them. Where the? I hope that they're going to Byzantium, because we hadn't really met before this. So
They
I have
might
to
be
assume...
planning to attack the city-state, perhaps? Although
One can
I'm not
only
sure
hope.
just how often the Huns attack city-states. I know the Mongols love to take city-states. I'm not sure about the Huns. But yeah, a general rule is that if you actually see an army like this, that means AI wants to attack someone.
Oh, definitely. Man,
That's pretty much always the case. In fact,
Deity,
it's
this is
usually very
crazy.
easy to tell if the AI wants to attack you, because the AI never attacks you without having an army prepared. It just doesn't happen. So it will grab an army and start moving towards your city. It can be really, really easy to spot.
Well, I'm going to keep an eye on them. Oh my God. Oh, they're definitely taking Kaisel. It's already down to a third health. Battery rams.
So that's good news for you, because they aren't planning to attack you.
Well, yeah,
Also-
but I'm betting I'm going to be the next stop.
Also, one thing that's worth mentioning in context of AIs attacking you are embassies, because I noticed a lot of people tend to sell embassy for gold, which can certainly be an okay way to get a slight gold boss early on, but thing is, AI doesn't actually know where you are. It doesn't get full vision of the entire map. It has to actually find you, and if the AI doesn't know where you are, it won't attack you. So that's the reason why I usually don't sell embassy. I don't even trade embassy with someone like Attila.
Not until it's clear that everyone knows where they are.
Exactly. Until it's clear that he definitely knows where I am, I don't even trade an embassy. To not let him know where I am.
Well, I probably wouldn't do it in this game. Oh, there we go. It's fallen already. That did not take long. That's awful. What is it saying? Range attack. There we go.
Well,
So-
Barbarians are having fun with my improvements right now.
And you're having to dodge the barbarians with your unescorted settler. Oh no, you've
Yeah.
got your archer there. Okay, you're
Yeah, I
fine.
had to buy that settler, so I have 0 gold right now. Well, 15 because I'm at a city-state. Thanks, city-state. I actually have a Barbarian camp 4 tiles away from my capital, so that's fairly annoying. But once I get the copper, I should be able to sell that to someone.
So you would sell the copper immediately?
Yep, I sometimes even sell my first copy of a luxury if my happiness is fine, because that extra gold can be so important in the early game.
I didn't see it was hiding behind your nameplate. I didn't realize you had another copper in your territory already.
I actually have 3 copper in range. There's one to the southeast as well.
Yeah, I'd noticed that. I
This
was
is a
wait,
really
you have
good
2
start.
outside your borders. Your start is
Yeah,
unbelievably good.
this is fantastic start. I have quite a lot of food. I have 3 different luxuries in range. The marble is just outside of range, but I will be able to get that.
Yeah. And I'm right next to the Huns and feeling awesome about that.
Yeah, the Huns are one of these civilizations which are really hard to prevent from declaring war on you. You just have to keep them busy, basically.
Yeah, I wonder if I could convince them. Like, what would it take at this point?
You might be able to
Declare-
convince them to declare war on Byzantium.
Theodore. No, there's no way it would work. What about the other way around? I think that would be much, much less likely.
It's quite possible that he will do it anyway, but Byzantium is usually really bad at defending themselves. And hey, Temple of Artemis is still available, which I'm almost surprised by.
And turn 41, yeah. There was a time when I was trying to keep a spreadsheet of every time a wonder got done, so that I would be able to chart like approximately what's the earliest that this will get done, what's the average, and then I got lazy and stopped doing
Yeah.
it. But it's very handy because then you make decisions about when you can start things.
It's often very dependent on what AIs are in the game. So, for example, if Egypt is in the game, that kind of screws up the timings, because Egypt gets the wonder construction bonus. And Egypt AI loves wonders.
Well, and as it should.
So you can sometimes tell that Egypt is in the game before you even meet them, because a lot of wonders will be gone earlier than usual. Especially if Egypt goes for tradition opener. Because then they get the aristocracy bonus, then they get their own bonus, and if they have marble on top of that, that's just insane.
Yeah, well, I've got to assume that Egypt will normally go that way. But the other big question mark is always how many civs, or if at least one other AI civ has started in desert. Because that'll tell you the Petra, but you can't know that ahead of time.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I generally don't go for Petra on Deity. Because it's really easy to lose it. AI often prioritizes it if it has desert near its capital. So it can be really hard to build. And the best way to get Petra is really through the Liberty finisher, and I usually go for Tradition. Tradition is just so much better. If you don't go for Tradition, you are missing out on so many things. Not just the extra growth, but for example, if you don't go for Tradition, you will not be able to fight by Great Engineers. Which is quite important, I would say. Another nice thing about Tradition, which tends to be underestimated, is the Garrison City Strength bonus. If you have some aggressive neighbors, that bonus can help you so much.
Was it 15% or... Oh, 50%.
50% in cities with a garrison. That's actually quite powerful.
It saves you a little bit of money too.
And also, aristocracy is a wonder bonus that applies to every wonder in the game, at every stage of the game. So
as opposed to the religious one, which is only ancient and classic.
So this helps with late game wonders, which requires a lot of hammers. I quite like having that. And the thing about Tradition...
On the high difficulties, you tend to give up on the early wonders, but a lot of the late game wonders are still in play. Yeah,
there are quite a few really important late game wonders. So, for example, if you are going for scientific victory, you pretty much have to get the Hubble Space Telescope. Right, I didn't actually think about my city location.
You're just wandering around, you're just wandering the desert for 40 years.
I just followed the river, more or less, but yeah. This is a pretty tough decision, because I can't get a coastal city with a river, which would be the best way to go, I suppose.
You can get a lot of food, even if you just moved up one more tile. There's a lot there. Do you get any luxuries? Well, long distance copper, but that's not a new luxury.
I would probably settle right here.
Yeah, that's
that will give
good.
me a lot of food, that will give me copper to the north, to the west.
You get to work the wheat right away, which is always nice.
That seems to be the best option. And then I can start a city to the north. On the coast, next to the mountain. That will be a pretty good city.
Yeah, it leaves you room for a city on the far west tip as well later on. It's not as strong, but
that's still pretty good. Any location that gets 2 or more fish tiles is often worth settling.
Yeah, because with the workboat and the lighthouse, will they produce 5 food per tile?
Yeah, 5 food, 1 hammer, and 1 gold, I believe, which is really good.
And they're fantastic. Makes it a pretty decent city for doing specialists and stuff, too.
Yeah.
I like the oranges, the citrus. Oh, bankrupt.
I'm almost going to lose my archer. Just notice he's low on health. I still need to get rid of that barbarian camp too. What I often do if I have a barbarian camp close to my capital is wait to get a city-state quest for that barbarian camp.
Yeah, it's so nice.
But the closest city-state I have is Yerevan, which is not that close. It's probably unlikely that I'll get a city-state quest for that camp.
Well, Wellington has given me a city-state quest for the camp that's nearby, and I was trying to make my way there. I had to fight some barbarians along the way, and my warriors got no health left. But I'm also I'm friends with them already because I discovered a natural wonder for them, which was awfully nice.
Yeah, there's actually one nice trick with natural wonders. and city-states. If you can find the Great Barrier Reef, which is a 2-tile wonder, you can wait to discover the second tile later, until you get more quests with city-states.
It doesn't auto-discover both? That's really funny.
Yeah, it doesn't. It technically counts as 2 natural wonders. So you can just wait with the second tile for more city-state quests, which can be a nice way to get extra influence.
One thing that's going to be nice about my second city, it's going to be really, really well defended. It's just a pure bottleneck of mountains.
Yeah, that city will be almost impossible to take by the AI.
Well, that's good, because Beijing is actually going to be really easy for them to take.
Yeah.
Nice and flat, wide open. Hey, I can get a Pantheon. Did you found one yet?
No.
No, your shrine was delayed. So there is one. Isn't there one for stone and marble? I don't have them all memorized. I don't even remember if it's any good.
There is one with faith from quarries, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, there's something with quarries. Hang on, let me check the... Whoa, the menus are different.
Which is actually pretty nice, because you can get stone on grasslands, and then it's very, very good.
No, someone's already got the... whoever founded Catholicism has faith from quarries. So, well, I don't have that.
Yeah, that's +2 faith from quarries, stone circles.
I don't have that. Don't have camps. I don't really have any really good options. Now, something like fertility rites is always nice. Although you're telling me it's not as good as... it doesn't work the same as the other wonder.
Well, it's not that it's not good. It's that Temple of Artemis is, in my opinion, way overpowered. So it's not that the other modifiers are bad. It's just Temple of Artemis is so damn powerful.
Now, I will be settling a place with a couple of fish, but that's not enough. None of these scream out.
If I don't have any obvious Pantheon choice, I usually just go either for Fertility Rites or for God of Craftsmen, I think it's called. The +1 hammer in cities with 3 pop or higher. The one thing that you have to consider is that if it looks like it's fairly unlikely that you'll get your own religion, you will eventually lose the Pantheon, because your cities will get converted to different religions.
And with that in mind, going with something like the God King, which really only helps your capital.
To get the early game benefit as much as possible before you actually lose that Pantheon.
Yeah, that's interesting. Now, I probably will get to 3 cities, which probably means the Pantheon will give me 3 hammers effectively. And to me, that's almost a wash with God King, which gives me a hammer and a beaker, plus some other stuff. Because I feel like I'm pretty compacted in here, and I'm going to have to grow tall rather than wide, especially with the Huns nearby.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm going to have to sit down a little bit. I'm going to pick up the God King this time around. I don't know if it's the right decisions, but I got to pick one at this point.
You actually don't have any obvious location for a third city.
Yeah, I think I'd try to cram one into the north. Between the two
that
fish
probably
and the
makes
stone.
sense. Settling towards Attila would be a bad idea for sure.
Yeah. And what I don't like is there's no luxury up here. I mean, there's more cotton. I guess I'll have to depend on trade.
But...
Or do we share...
There are quite a few fish tiles up there.
Yeah, and fish is good. Now, where I was talking about colonizing, I would miss one of the fish. But there's no way for me to get the third fish to the east unless I colonize on top of something.
Yeah. I usually really don't like settling on top of resources, because you just miss out on tile yields that way.
Oh, I wonder... Is there any way for me to get this?
But in this case, unfortunately, that tile with stone is actually a really good location for a city. I would maybe even consider that.
So effectively, that would be like blowing up the stone. Like I wouldn't get anything out of that tile anymore. It would just be normal.
The one problem with that city up there is that if you want to get the stone close to Wellington, you'll probably have to buy that. Because the city-state will just steal the stone.
Yeah, because it prioritizes flat land towards resources. Yeah, it'll almost certainly grab it next. I mean, it's on tundra. It's never going to be a super strong tile, because with the quarry, it'll just go up to 1 food, 2 hammers.
Yeah, it's not a big deal if you lose it, but if you want to get it, then you'll probably have to buy it. But yeah, I'm looking at the location. It would actually make sense to settle on top of the stone, because then you would get 3 tiles with fish.
Yeah, and the fish
So
is really strong.
Yeah, that's 3 tiles with 5 food, 1 hammer. That's really, really good.
I like it.
I think it's worth actually missing out on a little bit of extra yields from the stone just to get 3 fish tiles.
Yeah, I like it. I like the thinking. But I'm still going to settle to the south first, between the sheep and the fish. Okay, I should have just sent the worker back to my own territory to heal faster at this point. He was so injured.
Terracotta army.
Now,
I hope that's not Attila.
Oh, jeez, that would be awful. Did it say? I dismissed it without checking to
Yeah,
see.
it didn't say. I think it was someone we didn't meet yet.
All right,
Let's
that's
see.
good.
Diplomacy overview, global politics. That's Pocatello. He built it.
All right. Well, I think I'm going to go for a stoneworks. I mean, I do have my paper maker available, and it's a cool building. Mm-hmm. Right? Just the extra gold in addition to the science. I mean, it's fine. Actually, what's the upkeep on the library? Is it 1 normally? Or 2?
Hold that thought. I would just like to point out that Attila built the statue of Zeus, which is extra siege damage on cities, I believe.
Oh,
that
good.
makes him quite dangerous.
I'm really worried that my game is going to end really soon.
Yeah, you might want to... What I usually do, if it becomes obvious I might get attacked, is go for construction ASAP and get a few composite bombmen. Because composite bombmen is really the best defense that you can get in the early game. And
Yeah,
once
it's stunningly good.
If you do get attacked, what can often happen, especially early in the game, is that the AI will actually agree to sign a peace treaty while sieging your cities. It happened to me quite often, especially in the very early game.
They're about to take the city and they're still willing to peace out?
Yeah, they will attack you for a bit and then just agree to sign a peace treaty. They usually won't do it if your city is down on health, but if they just have units around you and just fighting back and forth, they will often agree for a peace treaty quite soon after declaring war. It's usually worth checking every turn.
Yeah. No, I've seen that too. Also, I'm surprised sometimes at the AI's willingness to peace out. Like, even in a situation where I don't have enough troops to actually take a city, they'll often give up a city for peace.
Yeah, it's actually very weird sometimes. The one thing AIs usually look at first is relative army strength. Mm-hmm. But obviously in the early game they will always have a bigger army than yours. There's no way around that. But you're right, sometimes AI goes for some really strange deals.
Okay, for 4 gold per turn, 4 horses, and an embassy, I can get Attila to declare war on Theodora.
For how much?
4 gold per turn, 4 horses, and an embassy.
If that won't destroy your economy, then that's actually worth doing.
Yeah, I'm currently at +5, and I could easily make a little bit more money than that as well. It's really, really tempting.
Just keep in mind that it will probably end with Attila actually taking their cities and getting stronger.
Yeah,
so it's still a good idea to prepare some defenses for the future.
Yeah, well, the problem is either he's going to attack me or he's going to attack Theodora anyway. He's not going to be sitting idle.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'd rather make sure that it was him.
I agree.
Her. The 4 gold per turn sucks a little bit, but I think it's still worthwhile. I'm pretty sure if I didn't do this, well, I guess I could have scouts a little closer to him.
It's often worth paying a lot of gold to get the AIs to fight each other, especially a little bit later in the game. I spent a lot of gold to make AIs fight each other sometimes.
Before I do it, I'm going to move one of my units a little bit closer just to see if he happens to be stockpiling troops on the border. Because if it's not looking like he's going to be attacking me any second, then I can afford to wait. Oh, well, there's a battering ram. Oh, no! I got a barbarian encampment must have spawned to the northeast.
Yeah, I see it.
Ah!
That's really annoying. And it was a horseman too. That's the worst part. I hate barbarian horsemen. Because you just can't see them coming.
Yeah, so we'll have to do something about that soon. Alright, so I'm gonna settle Shanghai.
You'll probably have to move back with that archer or something like that.
Oh yeah, that's definitely what I'm gonna have to do. So now I'm tempted to get started on my paper maker, my library at this point.
Yeah, I actually
Mind you,
just
city.
finished mine. Or well, I didn't, but I have 4 more turns.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the stoneworks first in Beijing just because it's so good. But I am starting to think if maybe I'm delaying my libraries a little bit too much.
I might actually go for National College before I start my third city.
Really, even with all the territory you have.
Yeah, well, that's actually the reason, because what I often do if I have very
you
close
don't-
neighbors is grab the really good city locations before AI steals them.
Right, but that's
But
not
since, yeah, I don't have any AIs any close to me, so it's very unlikely that AI will actually settle this. So that gives me time to not rush for a settler.
That makes sense.
I really need more archers though. That archer is taking forever to heal up, he's still in the red.
Yeah, turns are not going by very quickly because inevitably one of the two of us is taking extra time. It's always a problem with multiplayer, but at least it's simultaneous turns. I
Yeah,
never
yeah.
want to go back to the old days of
Oh yeah, I agree.
classic turns one at a time.
Yeah. And when you're waiting for someone to finish, it seems like it's taking 10 times longer than it actually is.
One of my problems, especially at the higher difficulties in Civ, is I'm kind of lazy. I like to automate things because it's like, I just want to rule. I don't want to micromanage workers and tile placements. And that really, you can't do that.
Yeah, the one thing about data is that you kind of have to micromanage your cities. So, one of the biggest things that you should do if you are moving up, for anyone who's moving up to higher difficulty level, is lock every tile manually, because the auto assignments the AI does are just awful, honestly. And I usually just lock every tile manually myself, most of the time. Unless I switch city to full production focus, then I just reset tiles, set production and leave it like that. But most of the time, I have all my tiles locked manually. Because you can usually just do it better than the auto assignments.
Oh, damn it. I lost my trade route too. What a huge waste.
Oh, to that stupid horseman.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I should have had a unit just sitting up there in the fog of war doing nothing. My production now is pretty good, though. I did just finish my stoneworks.
On the other hand, it was so unlikely that the Barbarian camp will spawn right there.
Yeah,
There's
but
so little terrain up there.
the more likely it is, or the more unlikely it is, the more likely it becomes.
I wouldn't have done it for sure. I wouldn't predict my Barbarian camp spawning up there.
Now there's two. I hate my life.
And you know, one of the effects of me not having neighbors is that I'm getting more barbarians. That's one of the big differences of highest difficulty levels too. Barbarians are usually not a problem on highest difficulty levels because the AI deals with them very quickly.
Alright, that
AI
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, the AI on Deity gets a pretty big army very fast. So then they just deal with all the barbarians very quickly. There we go, that's Barbarian Swordsman is finally dead. About time.
What's the movement on this horseman? Probably enough to reach this worker.
This is a very strange map. This is Pangea, it doesn't look like one. And this
It's very
is
sneaky.
medium sea level. Not high sea level, so it's very strange. It almost looks like a fractal map or something.
Oh, I suppose I should... these tiles are still fine.
So, should we make a cut? We are over 30 minutes.
Maybe we should. Then I can go cry about all my improvements getting wrecked by this horseman. The second horseman that spawned in. Alright. See you guys next time.
Thanks for watching, everyone.
Bye-bye.